So take a puff on camera. Hi, I'm Dottie the Psychic, and this is introduce yourself.
I am Natalie McVicker from the Pendulums path. Yay! Yay!
So, a little content warning. We stand mental health here, folks. Just FYI.
We do.
And of course, we're psychics.
Yes. Mental health and spirituality, they do actually go hand in hand.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. They absolutely do.
So, tell me a little bit about the kind of services that you provide.
So I offer a variety of services. Mostly my main services. I offer a 15-minute, a 30-minute, and a 1-hour session. You can do them either over Zoom or through phone, and we can discuss anything, almost anything. I don't do legal, and I don't do like health and pregnancy for obvious reasons. And if you don't know what those reasons are, well, then do your research, because ethics is a thing. You know, and I was like, and I am not a doctor, so I cannot prescribe things or diagnose you. If somebody tells me how they passed in spirit, that's another thing entirely, but I don't do health or pregnancy or legal.
Right.
But yes,
if you need somebody with a license, you should probably talk to somebody with a license. That's not
you
the
know,
license. We don't have no license.
Yes, I was like, I don't have those kinds of medical licensing. So, but I work with pendulums, I work with tarot cards, oracle cards. I am a psychic, and I am also a medium, so literally who knows what's going to happen. I use multiple decks to get to either the heart of what your problem is, see where you can make improvements, or see where those blockages are and what you need to work on, so that we can get you to the next few steps in your life if you feel like things are holding you back. 9 times out of 10, spirit will pop in with a message from the other side with words of wisdom or validation that they are actually around you. But I don't control that, as most mediums can attest to. We don't know who's coming through. It just depends on who picks up the phone on the other side.
You know, that's one of those things. I've never actually offered mediumship because you can't guarantee it.
I can't guarantee it. However, with me, if somebody sends me a couple of photographs of loved ones that they are hoping that will come forward, that to me helps me connect and leave myself open to those specific energies. And usually if they send me like 5 photographs, like 2 or 3 of those individuals will come forward with some like profound information. And it's always it's even healing for me in some ways. Knowing that other
people, accident by accident.
What's that?
Have you ever accidentally picked up somebody's accent? Like they'll say something,
yes.
You just like repeat them.
I have. And
you froze up on me, baby. I can't hear you no more. Waiting. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here is my handle, here is my spout. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out. Somebody in the live stream, hello. You know, here's the thing. Like, this is my mediumship experience. I'll go to do somebody's reading, and they'll be like, can you talk to so-and-so? And about the time I get out, I don't really do.
I think like everything just froze for a second there. I was like, I don't know what just happened here, but everything just went spinning. I was like, I don't know where anybody is right now. Whoops.
The gods of fire are not pleased.
That's okay. So where was I just saying? So yeah, so spirit comes through, I give guidance, people leave usually feeling happy and healthier at the end of it, and yes. Sorry about all that.
That's all right. While you were froze up, I sang a little teapot. I'm trying to come up with like good waiting music.
Right, it's like just play some kind of music in the background. I was like, I don't know what just happened. That's okay.
If it gets long enough, I start going into sea shanties I learned when I was a kid. So let's hope it doesn't happen again for the sake of our viewers.
Right. And all of the nursery rhyme songs that I remember all have a very dark and uncomfortable history background. And every time I sing them, I'm like, oh, I really don't feel comfortable singing like that about that anymore.
You know what? We do dark and uncomfortable here.
every time I'm like teaching my daughter something, I'm like, should I really be teaching her this, or should I actually be teaching her the history behind this song?
First you teach them the song, and then when they get older, then you can burst their bubble.
So this is why but this is why those words are those words. This is what it refers
Rockabye
to.
Baby, like the Rockabye Baby in the tree top, like the history behind that, and I can't remember which prince it was that basically cracked his skull.
Yeah. Yep.
Ugh.
Do I use certain pendulums for certain types of readings? Sometimes. Sometimes I do. Let's see. I've got my rose quartz one here. Well, I have two rose quartz ones. I have this one too, which is a chambered one. So the top here unscrews. Hang on. I usually put it on pretty tight because I don't want it coming off mid-reading, because sometimes that happens. Like the vibration.
That's one way to repel negative spirits. Wing!
Right. I'll usually use like my rose quartz ones when I'm tapping into a more loving energy, or I'm wanting to tap into a more loving energy. It doesn't want to open. She's like, nope, we're not going to let go. But at the moment, I have sea salts, like rocks of sea salts in here. So that is going to be constantly charging and cleansing the energy from this. And then, like, usually once a month, I will empty out the little chamber and then replace the sea salt that's inside the little chamber in here.
It's not corroding it, is it?
No, there's a little barrier. There's like a little piece of mesh in between it. So it doesn't actually like touch the crystal, but it's sitting on top of it. And I've had no issues with it.
Okay. Yeah,
at all. And then I have my green aventurine one. I usually use these for like finances and looking for like abundance, like where abundance lies or where you should be seeking abundance and things like that. I have 3 or 4 in my cleansing box at the moment. I have a block of selenite in a little box, and they sit and get all happy in there. And I'm like, nap time. We got to get you ready for the next cycle of readings. But I have a carnelian one. I have a like an orange agate one in there, and then I have my rainbow chakra one, which I love as well. So I use all kinds of different pendulums, and then I also have a couple of metal pendulums that have keys on the end that somebody made for me, and I love that one too. Yes. Your amethyst pendulum for legs on you, did it? Mm-hmm.
Man, I never could have bought a thief.
Check the vents.
Oh, sometimes just like decide it's going to go on an epic journey without you. Books are notorious for it. Like,
yes,
if your books get a chance to pick up and go, like half your library just walks away. I'm like, okay, where are you going?
Yep, absolutely.
No, you get burned out there.
Mm-hmm. I just had a blue apatite tower snap in half on me last night.
Oh god! You know what? I was watching
my heart. I was like, no, that's my favorite. And they're like, listen, you're leveling up in your abilities, Natalie, so you don't need this right now. And I'm like, okay, that's fine.
I've had that. Hematite blows up on me. You know, it's funny. We're talking about books a minute ago. Like, I was watching that Georgia book burning. I'm like, they're burning Harry Potter and Twilight. I wonder what they'd burn me if they knew it was in my library.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. It's in your car. It's in your car. I found 3 pendulums like that have fallen like partially in the vents, and I'm like, I was wondering where that one went. It just fallen out of my pocket because I just carry rocks in every pocket that I have.
That's one thing like I never really picked up on. Like, if you notice, like, I'll put on like some jewelry for my videos and stuff, but I never really carried a lot of rocks. That's part of why I started doing palmistries, because like most people have hands.
Yes.
So it's right there. Like,
here's my carnelian one. It was in my pocket. I'm like, here's another one. Look at that. So I've got four pendulums now sitting in front of me. I have some garnet and I have some clear quartz.
I'm really, really glad the camera does not include my desk right now, because it is it has suffered the full wrath of my attention deficit disorder.
So is mine, and I even tried organizing it today, and I was like, it's still chaos. I was like, that I accomplished nothing with this. I accomplished nothing. It's okay. It's all right.
You know what? With all the changes I'm getting ready to do here in August, let's do a reading. You said that you had the
Green Aventurine?
yeah.
Yes.
Let's see if that's gonna pan out for me.
Hang on 1 second. I'm going to use my board.
You know what? This is actually probably a good time to go ahead and announce that I will be making some big changes, including separating the live streams from my bigger videos. So this is all going to be like on a new channel next month.
Nice. Very
That's the
cool.
idea.
So this is one of my pendulum boards. My other one is quite large, and it is sitting underneath a lot of chaos. So we're not going to attempt to get rid of that chaos. This one I could get out quite easily. It has letters and numbers and moon phases and astrological signs and all of the things. So what I do is I just connect with my higher self, or whichever spirit guide of yours wants to come forward and reveal what you need to know.
That could be an interesting experience in and of itself.
You're like, I don't know if I want to do this.
Like, who wants to talk tonight? I'm down if you're down.
I have some clients that they're like, I'm just here to watch. I don't need you calling me out on stuff today because I already know I'm in a lot of trouble and I don't need that validation right now. So just don't read for me. I'm just here to watch. I'm like, okay. As long as you know what you did wrong. They're like, we are fully aware.
What they did wrong or what I did wrong?
No, what, like any client, like whenever I come through with my pendulum board, they're like, listen, I don't want to know what they're saying because I don't need that kind of hate right now.
This is the tapping in process for those of you. I'm sorry if I'm disrupting you, but I'm just
No,
going to
you're
tell
not,
everybody
you're not.
that a lot of times you can tell a legit psychic because they have to take just a moment to tap in. And that's not every time, because especially if you're doing a lot of readings in rapid fire, you're already pretty well charged and tapped in. So it's not necessarily a thing, but if you've got somebody who stops and taps in, they're probably legit. Because sometimes it just takes a moment to get into the proper headspace and be open to the experience.
All right, so I've got K, E, E, keep, I, M, A, G. So keep imagining, W, H, A, T. Keep imagining what, Y, O, U, your, F, U, T. Keep imagining what's your future, S, H, O, U, should, L, O, look, L, I, like. It's like I do autofill with them sometimes. I'm like, you're spelling this word. Let's move on to the next. B, L, O, C, K, blocks, A, R. Blocks are in the FINA financial blocks are in the financial area, and W I will be E will be R E M removed O N once T H once the, and they're pointing to the new moon. Once the new moon, T R A N transits. Yes. You on here? M A N manifest. Manifest I N T manifest intentions. I N C O M incoming. E N E R energy. Yes. So start manifesting it. That blockage is going to get lifted, my babes.
Nothing like being called out online, right? Right there in front of everybody.
I was like, listen, I'm like, I know that I really wish that I could, I mean, I will eventually get a secondary camera so that people can actually see, because the pendulum will quite literally move and stay on a letter until I call out that letter or recognize it and acknowledge which letter they're going to. I've had to do it before where I've had to do like auto to text while I'm doing it so I can actually spell out this long message, because it's hard for me to even like remember the last like 4 or 5 words that I just said. I'm like, oh my God, I've just forgotten half the message now. But if I keep an auto recording of it, then it it helps tremendously. So I hope that makes sense for you.
A lot of sense. A lot of sense. Basically, keep going. Yeah, I definitely got some blockages in
my
the.
dear.
Hello, David. Hello, Brenda.
I'm a Netflix #1 fan. Yeah, one of my clients calls me Netflix because I'm like her go-to subscription for stuff.
That's pretty cool.
Bye. Have a great night. Hello, Liz.
Netflix #1. No, yeah, I see that.
Yeah, instead of Netflix, it's Netflix. I love it. I love it. It's fun. So, and what's weird with the pendulum board is like like spirit completely like takes control of my arm. Like it's almost like I can't even feel my arm when I'm doing it, because all of that energy is like being put into that pendulum. So it's like I don't even like, my part of my body doesn't even exist at that point. And like, I've had it like where it's like twitched and like jerked and stuff, because it's like someone's got like a little electrode in the back of my arm at times. It's wild.
I can do the yes and no with pendulums. They're good for yes and no questions for me, but I've never quite figured out the board.
That I think it's I know that everybody has their gifts and everybody receives things differently, and experiences spirit differently. And there are some people who can pick up a set of dowsing rods and can go off and find everything with it. And then there are other people who hold them in their hand and nothing happens. And they're a gifted medium or something along those lines. And I'm like, it just doesn't vibe with you, or you don't vibe with it. You haven't gotten that to that level of that energy yet.
Right. This is one of those moments where the magic didn't quite work. We had a guy come out. We were putting in a water line.
Yes.
And we needed to know where the electric line was, so we didn't, and the gas line were, so we didn't actually hit them. Uh, the electric line is
Smart
overhead, but
thing.
it was the gas line, because we're digging a 2 foot down hole. We need to know where things are in the ground,
Right.
and it was not anywhere near where this guy said it was, because this box didn't work, and so he just broke out his dowsing rods. I'm
See,
like, apparently they do not work for finding gas lines.
I would love to have a set of dowsing rods. Like that's next on my list of divination tools to tap into, because I would love to start out just doing like simple yes or no, get tapped into it, figure out how that energy works, how I work with that energy. It was like when I first picked up a pendulum, it was like I had been doing it every single one of my lives. And I was like, oh hey, I remember how to do this. I was like, yeah, I remember this. This is my thing. And it was literally like my very first pendulum was gifted to me the night that one of my friends and I did an overnight tour at Tala. And this is before I found out that I was a psychic and a medium. This is before I had like my big, massive, like, oh my God, I've been doing this my entire life and no one explained this to me. Oh my God. Like that whole revelation, that hadn't happened yet. My friend was like, you want to go do a ghost hunt in the middle of the night locked in an asylum? And I was like, yes, absolutely I do. like why are you asking me this? Let's go. So we did, and I did research into what you can and can't do inside the asylum, and they said that pendulums were okay, but Ouija boards were not. And I was like, what is a pendulum? I was like, we can bring pendulums in? What is that? So then that opened up that door to pendulums, and I was talking with my friend. I was like, they say that we can bring these in. And there's a board that people use. I'm wondering if I can bring that in. So the administrators at Tala gave me permission to make and bring in a yes and no pendulum board, which I designed in puffy paint and everything. I put it on a foam board that folded up, and me and my friend, she's like, I'm going to make you a pendulum. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so amazing. I feel so cool right now. Again, before I was doing this for a living. And we went to Tala and did the whole lock-in, like the lockdown. It was in October too, like the weekend before Halloween. And we got some amazing responses that night. And
I want to do that. Like, I want to go and do a lot.
It was just amazing.
The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, for those who
don't know what Tala is, it's the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. It's got a very deep, dark history.
I went there on just a daytime tour, and like, even though the activity was low, it was still hopping.
Yeah. There were some rooms I walked into, and it was like I felt like I couldn't breathe. Like,
oh my God, I got an ice pick headache in the lobotomy ward. I'm like,
yeah. Oh, I've had ice pick headaches before. Oh my God, they are the worst. But there was a couple rooms that I went into, and even they said these 3 rooms or something, there's like one specific energy, and I can't remember what their name was. I think it was like Bob or something like that. And he gets angry sometimes, and he doesn't like people, and he's been known to like touch and shove a little bit and things like that. And I remember walking past it, and it was like somebody literally just like body checked me in the chest space, like, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, I felt like I had the wind knocked out of me for a moment. I was like, oh, like, it took me a second to get my energy back and like start breathing properly again. It was wild. Yeah, and now looking back, I was like, that was spirit the entire time.
Oh my God. So this is something I'm thinking I may like stop doing, is I need to get a storefront, because I really, really can't just keep going to people's houses, but because it's just not smart or safe.
No.
But if I get a good energy off of somebody, I'll do it. Not very often, but just on occasion. And I went over to this nice couple's house. I'm like, you may want to talk to your landlord and see if somebody like died here, because they're just looking for attention. They just want to be treated like a person. And like, funny you should say that. Somebody knocked over our fan like 3 times and is screwing with the TV.
Yeah. They just want to be acknowledged and like let you know I'm here. Like this is my home. Like, you know, like this is my space. I want to let you know I'm still here.
Right.
And I've even done that with people before, like when they said, like, I feel like that there's somebody else in my home. And I was like, well, take pictures and like send them to me of like the areas that you feel like that's happening the most often. And I'll zoom in and I'm like, you see that face right there? And they're like, oh my God. And I'm like, that's the reason that you feel like you're not alone, because you're not.
I actually, because I was snapping shots like everybody does at the Trans-Elegant, I got one with a face in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had my mom recently went to a theater up in northern Arizona. It was built in, like, I think it was active in like the late 1700s, early 1800s, like mining era gold town, Arizona, right? Like
Wow.
thick with all of that kind of history, right? And so this theater has been there since before that time. There's a lot of activity, I'm sure. My mom went there with a group of friends to go watch a blues group. And she takes a picture of the theater, just like a big like panoramic view, and it's gorgeous. And I, as the psychic medium daughter that I am, I was like, you want me to show you the ghosts? And she's like, yeah, kind of. Like, I'm kind of intrigued because my mom is still like, she's still getting used to the fact that her daughter talks to dead people on a regular basis and sees them and, like, you know, has all these experiences. And so I zoomed in and like I found probably like 10 or 12 different energies that I could like specifically see, but I was like, these like four have like the most clear faces possible, and you could see like one of their beards that was hanging like all the way down, and you could see like the big floppy hat that he had on his head. And I was like, that guy sounds like he smokes like 12 packs a day and has a pickaxe in his back pocket. And then there's this other guy sitting there, and he has like a shorter trimmed beard, really dark, deep set eyes. You can see his brow. You can see his hairline. And my mom is like, oh my God, I can see their faces. And
That
I was
is
like,
always wild.
congratulations, Mom, you've just seen a ghost. And she's like, oh my God. She's like, I don't know what do I say to that? I'm like, nothing really.
Hi?
You just kind of accept
Say
it.
hi.
Right? I was like, just so you know, you're not alone in there. And they're all sitting there watching the show. And there was another female that was up in the balcony, and you could see she's wearing like these really dark cat eye glasses. She's got big dark red lips. You can see like the fur on her shoulder, and she's holding like a very elongated cigarette holder. And I was like, she is very like 1930s, 1940s, like pin-uppy kind of style, like platinum blonde pin curls. And my mom's like, I can see her. She's like, I can see everything that you're showing me. She's like, I can see her. And I was like, that's amazing, isn't it? I was like, it doesn't matter when you died, you can still come back and visit.
Right. You know, it's funny because like my mom and dad will still come back and visit. And the last time I got a visit from my dad, I've been going through Reiki training. I'm on level 2 now, and I need to do the study. I think I'm finally coming off the 21 days here, like at the end of the week. And it's been like super anxiety, but like I go in to do like the pre-meditation, and for some reason my Reiki master is my dad. And he told me to stop talking crap about it. Okay, Dad, I'll stop talking crap about you.
I've had my grandfather come through. He's like, listen, I know that you called me grumpy, Granddad. I was only grumpy because, and I was like, I know why you were grumpy, okay? Doesn't take away from the fact that you were grumpy all the time. And that's how I remember you a little bit, okay? I was like, I still love you though. And I'm glad you're here with me. They make fun of us so we can make fun of them. You know, that's what memories are for.
Right.
And it's those good, funny memories where we're kind of ragging on them a little bit that they come back and they're like defending themselves in spirit. Like, hey, listen. I think it's fun.
My dad deserves points just for surviving me for the most part.
I deserve points for surviving my father. That's
Fair
a
enough.
story for another show. That's diving deep into trauma and like deep into trauma.
Fair
But
enough.
I will say that I've grown a lot in setting those boundaries and maintaining them. I will say that I have grown quite a lot. And if I, like 5, 10 years ago, if I look back at my life, I would definitely back then look at myself now and say, there is no way that I could ever do that to him. And I'm like, yeah, you'll have a good reason to here soon. So,
So
but
um what is the moment when you decided to take this to a professional level?
yeah. Gosh. It was very much a very much like a domino effect. It was like bang, 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 because I'm one of those people, if I have an idea in my head that I want to do something, I have to start doing it. Otherwise, I'm going to chicken out and I'm going to say, no, I can't do that. So if I already get myself halfway invested, whether it's financially or like agreeing to do something or signing up for something, I'm already halfway there. So I have to keep going. So I went through this process of going through when I was coming to the realization of that I was a psychic and that I could pick up on things that there's no possible way I could possibly know. And I started doing readings for people. And then some of my regulars who were tagging me in their posts, even though they're not supposed to send the readers private messages, they do. And some of them were like, how much is it for an actual session with you? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, you want to give me money for me telling you those things? And I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. Why? And then I was like, well, there are professional psychics in the world and they do make money doing this for a living. And Spirit's like, do you not think that we're giving you a little bit of a nudge saying that you should actually maybe be making money doing this, Natalie? And I'm like, I can't take people's money though. And they're like, yeah, you can. You're going to have to, because guess what? In 3 years' time, this is what you're going to be doing for a living. So you better start getting used to the financial side of it now. Get comfortable with it. So I had gone to another reader friend of mine. He goes under the name of Dante DeSanto, and he'll probably see this later on and be like, hey, there's me. And I was debating whether or not I should do live shows because the idea of doing a live show terrified me, even though I was heavily invested in like 20 other readers that I was like, I can't believe they're doing this live with an audience. And look at all these people who are getting validating readings from them. And I sent in a message and I was like, they already know what my question is. I'm not really going to say it out loud because I didn't want to out myself. But like, should I be going live? And I'm sitting there like transmitting this message to him. And as he's flipping over these cards, it's like publicity came out, getting out there, showing myself, like everything was pointing to, you need to make yourself public. You need to start getting yourself out there and doing this for a living. And I was still working in the hotel industry for Hilton Hotels and doing what I'm doing part-time. And I created the Pendulums Path kind of just as a page. And then the page turned into a business because somebody's like, if you're making money and you're making over $500 a year, you need to register as a business. And I was like,
Yeah.
I've already made like at that point, I was like, I think I was already at $300 something, which was massive for me. Like that was huge just as a little side gig to make that much money off of doing little like $5 readings or whatever. And then I registered as a business. And then with the help of ASIN and Joe and like this whole community and everybody that we know, it just exploded for me. Even Jason Rule, he has been a massive, massive part of my journey, whether he wants to acknowledge that or not. Sir, you have been. And so many of my friends have just been such an encouragement for me, and it's just been a very slow progress for me to just be like, I'm a professional psychic medium, and it's still weird for me to say, and I've been doing it for 3 years, like, professionally, and still when I tell people what I do for a living, I'm just like, that just sounds so weird coming out of my mouth.
You know, I get that though. Like the first few times I said it, I'm like, I'm a professional psychic because I think I started off on a slave line of all damn things.
Yeah,
Like they set the price for like $4.99 and I got like pennies on the dollar for that.
yeah.
Like I literally
Where they
attended
take
that.
like 70% of your commission rate? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I kind of make jokes that like Miss Cleo kind of ruined it for the psychic industry back in the 90s. I was like, every single one of those infomercials, and I was like, everybody knows that they're not getting her. There's no possible way that every single one of those people calling are talking to that person. She is not actually Miss Cleo. Like, that
Right.
is a paid actress.
I think if she'd been upfront about it, she might have been okay. Like,
Yeah,
this is
you
the
know,
hotline.
yeah, exactly. And I, I met with skeptics, and I met with people with who raise an eyebrow, who I can tell are very curious about that. And I'm like, here's my business card. Now you know where to find me. If ever you get that curious, you can find me. And let's blow your mind for a hot second.
You know, I love that though. Like, and this is almost a trope. Like the boyfriend who gets dragged along, and then you go to start his reading, and the girlfriend's talking to her, and he's like, "I'm trying to listen to what she's saying."
Yep.
They're like,
And
"Wow!" Like
I've
blow
I've
their mind.
had
Like, "Ooh."
I've had skeptics in the background while their girlfriend is getting information, and the girlfriend, I won't reveal names or anything, but I did do a reading for a coworker of mine, and her father came through multiple times while we were at work, just like little things here and there that was just validating for her. And she's like, my partner doesn't believe in anything, like complete agnostic, like nothing exists. Like
Right.
it's just like there's nothing. And I was like, okay, neat. And I was like, he's wrong, but that's okay. And she's like, she's like, would you do a reading for him? And I was like, he has to be open to receive it. Because if he's not, I'm not going to be able to connect with them. I'm not going to be able to connect with their side of spirit because they're not allowing me to connect with them. I can't not connect unless somebody gives me permission to do so. It's not like I'm sitting there walking through Walmart, looking at everybody and figuring out what their deep, dark secrets are because their spirit guides are whispering me like all the deets in my ear. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
So, where was I going with that thought? Completely derailed there. Wow.
That's what we're good at here at Dottie the Psychic. Complete derailment.
Completely derailed there. Where was I going with that? Oh, yes. So, one night I was on the phone with this person, and she's like, he's actually like right next to me. Is there any chance that like you pick up on anything? And I was like, put him on the phone. And she's like, really? I was like, just put him on the phone. So she puts him on the phone, and he's like, so she tells me that you think you're psychic. And I was like, I am a psychic. I was like, I don't think that I'm a psychic. I am a psychic. And he's like, so is there anyone around me? And I was like, oh, you just said the magic words, honey. Yes, you do. And he starts like getting all like, oh, ha, ha. And I was like, so, who was it that called you pork chop? And his face completely dropped. And he's like, and I was like, was that your grandmother? And I was like, did she used to wear like pink, like octagonal glasses? Like they're like rose tinted frames, and it's almost like an octagon or like an enlarged hexagon, like very geometric shaped glasses. And she had like a really tight, like set curl, like really just like bubbly and like puffy, like perm style hair. And this man takes the phone, stands up out of bed, walks into the living room and shows me this picture on the mantle. He goes, is this the woman that you are referring to? And I said, yes, sir, it is. And he's like, that's my grandma. And she used to call me pork chop when I was 3 years old. And I was like, so, sir, do you think that I am making this up? And he goes, no, ma'am. He goes, because I never even told my girlfriend what that nickname was. I've never spoken that name to anybody. And he's like,
That's
there's
wild.
no way you could have known that nickname. And he's like, he goes, I don't even know what to say to you right now. And I was like, you don't have to say anything. Just know that your grandma's around you and she loves you. And it was like the rest of the conversation, he's just sitting there like with his head in his hands, like trying to process everything that just happened to him over like the past like 178 seconds. His entire world just completely fell apart. And he's like, everything that I thought I believed is now wrong. And I don't know what I believe, but I think that maybe that person just talked to my dead grandma. And I don't know what to think about that.
Oh,
Like,
that is the moment though. Like when you're like somebody's over here and you're like, my favorite one so far was this little old lady. Like was she like a little Mexican lady, or like the old school always had an apron on, very clean.
Yeah.
Kept her hair up in a bun all the time, and like this woman's like, yes, that's the one.
Yeah. It's wild the stuff that comes through. I was at a friend's house like a couple weeks ago, and something came out, and I was like, who was it that made peach cake? I was like, it's not like a peach cobbler or a peach pie, it's a peach cake. She's like, that's my grandma, and that was her recipe, that was her thing, was peach cake. And she's like, wow, how did you know that? And I was like, because I can see it being put in front of me. Like, I can smell it. I can taste it. I was like, there's like cinnamon in there as well. I was like, did she put molasses? And she's like, it was dark corn syrup. That was like perfect. Amazing. I was like, she's like, that was her little secret, was the dark corn syrup. And she's like, she put it in the glaze on top, and it's what made it like crunchy and crackly on the top. And I was like, that's amazing. So that's the validation that is her and she is with you. And she's like, how did you know that? And then I started describing, it was like a jewelry chest. And I was like, it's really long, and it has like multiple drawers, and it has a lid that opens up, and it's got like a mirror on the inside. This, like, one of her family members runs upstairs, takes a picture, and runs back downstairs, and she goes, this is her jewelry box. And I was like, that's literally what I just drew on this piece of paper. And she's like, that's identical to what you just drew on that piece of paper, and you've never been upstairs.
That's pretty cool.
And it was like everybody in the room was like, I was like, yay, spirit.
I'm telling you what, like, even though I've been doing this now for multiple years, you've been doing this multiple years, when you get that moment, you're like, yes, validation for everybody. Validation for all my men.
Right? Validation for you. It's like Oprah. You get validation. You get validation. Everyone gets validation. Who needs a car when you can have spiritual validation, Dottie?
Right? Well, I mean, if you figure it out long enough, you can usually get the car.
Manifest. Just make sure you're not just saying a car, because a car can mean the hunkiest piece of junk you go, like the last one that exists on the planet. You got a car, honey. It's not the one that you asked for, but you asked for a car. You didn't narrow it down for us. Now be grateful for what you received. And you're like, but this doesn't work.
Thank you for this car. Can I trade it in for a better one?
Right.
I would like to get a car that actually works.
Like, thanks for the gift. Slight problem.
I mean, that is what happened. You know what? The last relationship I managed to manifest like a whole ass relationship. I'm like, okay, I want a guy who is emotionally available, mature, and like I realized like he met all the criteria, but the things I didn't lay down got like skipped over. Like, okay, well, this is as close a fit as we can find in the tri-state area.
That's hilarious.
Like, okay, well, I guess I need to be alone for a little while.
You met 15 boxes and we were able to give you 8.
You put in too many requests on this one. Some of these things got skipped.
Right? Like I feel like we miss some of these details. I love this comment from Joe. This just cracks me. My favorite part is the spouse of a psychic event is telling them they don't have to sacrifice a child until the second visit.
I do not want your firstborn. I don't need your children.
I know. Sometimes like doing like there is something to be said about I don't like scaring people. That's not who I am. But if I can freak somebody out just a little bit, there's just like a little piece of my ego that's just like that was awesome.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I am down for the whole Morticia Adams
Yes.
tour.
Yeah, but like if I could freak somebody out, I don't like, I used to work in a haunted house. I do love scaring people. I love it. I think it's hilarious that that like we actually go to these things in order to get the shit scared out of us. Like that's just hilarious. That we go with the intent of being scared. I love that. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to frighten people, but at the same time, they need to know this. Like Spirit is telling me I have to tell them, but I also know it's going to freak them out. So I don't know how to be gentle about it and not completely unravel them for the next like moon cycle where they completely have an existential crisis because I said something.
Sometimes you don't even do it on purpose. Like
I don't want to be responsible for somebody's mental down spiraling.
Me neither. Although, you know what? That's kind of what you sign up for. Because, like, I kind of feel bad when people come to sit down at my table. They're walking around the fair. They're enjoying their time. They come and they sit down and we're reading, and I lay out their life like a cheap novel. I'm like, so let's talk about this shitty thing that happened to you as a kid.
On my end.
And I noticed that sometimes things get so normal for me to just talk about. I'm like, so you've got a guy in your house, and they're like, scared all of a sudden. I'm like, why are you scared? He was there before I got here. Why are y'all freaking out now? It's nothing's changed. And she froze up again on us. Do 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 do. I will tell you all though, there are some times where I know that I have like blown somebody's fuse just by being my natural self. I'll never forget. We had these the I think they were Mormon. They may have been Jehovah's Witnesses that used to come and talk to my friend, and he would invite them in, and he'd watch the video, and he'd have deep philosophical conversations with them because he wanted to know what they talked about, what they were thinking. And so, like, they're sharing their religion with me, so I wanted to share my faith with them. And apparently, that was the last time they ever came back. They didn't come back after that, which was very sad. I hope they're okay. If you're out there watching, heart. Silence. You know, somebody told me once when this room goes silent, it's because an angel walked through the room. I think it's just because I ran out of brain power. Like, your brain reset. Got the spinning wheel of death in my brain. No, wait a minute. You know what? This is a great time to advertise. This is actually one of the jokes I managed to get out during the stand-up I did at Ashland. This happens so often because I'm neurodivergent. Every now and again, I get like choice overload. Like I'm trying to figure out which shampoo to buy because there's like 50 of them and I don't know which one has paraffins and so I will like freeze up and just every now and again, it'll be bad enough that somebody will come over and say, "Hi, honey. Do you need some help?" And it's hard to tell. Like
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Sorry, my internet just like cut off, and then I was like, "Oh no!" So they pressed the button inside the house, and now we're back.
Yay!
Sorry. That is how the full moon works, folks. Technical difficulties for everybody. Maybe like, let's not bring up that trauma like 10 minutes before show starts.
I think that's what we get. We were talking about that before we started.
Right. Yeah. I was like, I gotta be early so that if there's an issue, I can fix the issue. Sorry.
We're kind of known for technical difficulties here. It's fine. We're all fine.
it was like I had like full bars, and then all of a sudden it was like, you are no longer connected to the internet. I was like, excuse me, why? Like, why did that happen?
Every now and again my computer will do that. It's just like, we're not talking to anybody right now. You don't
Yes.
need to talk to anybody right now.
Yeah. And you're like,
Like, you don't need to watch the same
actually I
YouTube
do.
video a millionth time. Like,
For 100,000 times. Yes.
yeah. I think like everyone, I get caught on that one YouTube video that has like nothing to do with anything else I'm doing with my life, but I watch it on repeat.
I have some TV shows that are like that with me. It's like a comfort video, you know, just like that gentle reminder of something familiar in the background. You know, it's not going to let you down. You know how it ends.
I could recite this.
Yes. Oh my gosh. At this point I could probably recite the entire at least 7 seasons of SpongeBob because of my child. Which is not something that I ever thought I would have in my like lexicon of memories, but you know, it's there now. So
There you go.
yes, and now I can relate to other 7-year-olds in my child circle.
Okay, so we got about 10 minutes left.
Yes.
Let's talk about how we can be reached. Of course, she is now one of our WV psychics that you can find at wvpsychics.com.
That's right. Also at www.thependulumspath.com is my main website. And you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, all under The Pendulums Path. Yes, and I have jewelry, and I sell crystals and altar kits with all of the elements that are represented. So for those that are just starting out or they need a travel kit, they are perfect to carry with you, as each bottle represents the 4 elements. Third eye meditation bombs, which I love. It has a whole bunch of good stuff, and it smells to me like lemon meringue pie. That's my third eye meditation bomb that I use, and I just put that on my forehead before I meditate, and I love it. I've got headache bombs as well for those who suffer from seasonal, like, you know, headaches and things like that, and don't like to take a whole bunch of medicine for it.
That's something I need to work on. I need to work on my personal practice. I really do need to just like chop out of time period and be like, okay, look, this is self-care. I need to do it. 10 minutes of just sitting still
and just existing.
And just existing for a few minutes, you know, like, all right, I'm open to whatever, just.
I do, for a lot of people who struggle with it, or can't sit still long enough to maintain at least 30 seconds of focus, I do sleep meditation. Ooh. I will pop in my headphones and I will type in like a guided sleep meditation. There are several people that I love listening to. Reese Jones. Oh, I love listening to Reese Jones. Jason Stevenson, Michael Seeley. I love all of them. Pura Rasa. Love. Willow Ben Zen. Love. They have a whole series of guided sleep meditations for insomnia, anxiety, chakra cleansing, spiritual connection, lucid dreaming, astral projection, you name it, they have it. So it's like it's like whatever you want, just send me a message and I will send you all of the links to all of the places that I love going to. And before I go to bed, I will go through the guided part, and as I drift off, I still know that even some of the affirmations that they are speaking during the meditation, I'm receiving in my subconscious. So even though I am not fully aware of it, my subconscious is, and I'm still going to be receiving those messages and all of that. So yeah, I love doing them.
I'm always a little weary of that because I'm always afraid somebody's going to slip something crazy in. You know, like
yeah, and then they're going to be, you know, they're going to start hypnotizing you to do something crazy.
I'm like, I probably don't need to listen to just do it over and over again all night long, because God knows what I'm going to pick up in the morning. I'm already a little bit of a loose cannon.
Like, I don't know why, but I just feel like I just have to keep doing it. I don't know what it is, but I'm just going to keep doing it.
Dottie the psychic.
She's unhinged.
A little.
But you know what? All my favorite people are just a little bit. It's like, you're a little bit too normal for me. You know?
Yeah, you know what? At this point, between I know that some people, when they hear psycho, they hear, or they, let me try that again. I just
When
screwed
they
up
hear
my own joke.
psychic, they hear psycho.
Yeah, I say psychic, they hear psycho, and I understand that I am like a breakfast spark, kind of fruity and nutty.
Yeah,
But
you
at
know.
this point in my life, if I've got to be the normal one in the room, I expect to be paid.
Exactly. And it's here's my thing. In every documentary about serial killers and all of the horrible people in the world, what's the
They
one
seem
thing that
so
everybody says
normal.
about them? They were so normal. Yeah, that was your first red flag. They weren't outwardly crazy. They didn't let everybody know, I'm a little bit weird. You're going to have to take a minute to get used to all of this here because I'm a lot to deal with.
You
Okay.
know what? I have had that conversation with people. I'm like, I understand that I'm a lot. Just stick with me, folks. Stay with me.
just like, if you don't like it, I get it. There's a door right over there. I will not judge you for leaving, but like, this is me, take it or leave it. And it's, I mean, I love my friends. They're just like, this is our friend, she's a psychic, and everybody else in the room is like, hold on a second, back that sentence up just a sec. She's a what? It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
you know what? You get
hi.
that doctor syndrome, and they're like, "Oh, you're a psychic. Could you read my palms?" And like, it's like the room splits in half. I'm like, you got a
Yes.
half that you're like that are just like
Yeah,
instantly revere you, and the other half they're like, that crazy
terrified.
bitch.
They're just like, what just happened here? Heretic, witch. And what's your point, Susan?
I like
Do
being
you want
creepy.
to know if your husband's cheating on you or not? Let's sit down and find out.
Oh God, all the times like, and I have like I try to pay very close. I try to really tap in before I give up people an answer to that one, because like sometimes I'm like, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, are they lazy in bed? If they're lazy in bed, they're probably cheating. If they're not lazy in bed, they may just be overworked.
Right, exactly. And it's like, you already, half the time I tell people, I'm like, you already know what the answer is. You came to me for validation.
Yeah,
You
a lot
came
of
to
times
me
it
for
is.
that validation because you already have that suspicion. You would not be here under a false name trying to gain insight into your marriage without your partner being aware of it, because we all know that that's what they're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because
and
they
and
can't just
looking
ask.
and looking to get that answer on whether or not there's trickery and deception and a broken heart in your future, so you can prepare yourself for the worst, because you already know that the worst is coming. You just need that validation from somebody who can see it.
So I see, well, I get a lot of people who, people's shifts change. They get worn down. Things
Mhm.
happen that make you pull away from the person that you love the most.
Absolutely. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are having an affair.
No, it just means they're having a depressive episode and really need to talk to a real therapist.
Right, exactly.
Therapy for all my men.
Right? You get a therapist and you get a therapist. Oprah just really needs to just start stopping buying the cars for people and actually give out the stuff that people need. You know?
Right. Okay, so Joe is giving me the banner to
Okay.
remind me to thank my patrons. Thank you to all my patrons. No, I don't tell people's names out loud because, well, the chances of me screwing up people's names are so high that I just don't put myself in that position. So I would love to thank all of my patrons. You can become a English hard. You can become a patron at patreon.com/Dottie the Psychic. So we could totally keep going, folks. Like, you know me. I will talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
Yes, we could. We could be on here for another 2 hours.
Right.
At least.
So if you would like to talk to Miss Natalie, you can find her at, you said, thependulumpath.com?
thependulumspath.com, or you can find me on Facebook under the Pendulums Path, or you can type in the Pendulums Path LLC, because I'm an LLC. You can find me on Instagram. If you just go to Google and type in the Pendulums Path, you will find me. I am on Google. So you can find me everywhere. I'm also on the Purple Ocean app now. I am on Bitwine. I am on Advia. I am on Psychic Oz. I'm everywhere now. I am on every network, it seems like.
That's a lot.
There's
I'm
a lot.
actually
There's a
slimming
lot.
down a lot of
Yes.
my stuff.
And
just
yeah,
so you
Purple
guys know,
Ocean. Yep. I'm everywhere.
So you guys know, you can find me at dottiethepsychic.com. I actually have a newsletter now.
Yay.
And just so everybody knows, like I said, I will be creating a secondary channel for the live streams and stuff, because I have listened to my audience. They have spoken and I have listened. A lot of my traditional audience will say, my closer friends and things, they said that they love my fancy videos. And a lot of people love the live streams, but the way that YouTube mixes them together, because they're on the same channel, people are kind of getting bombarded with both, and some people like one and some people like the other. So I will be splitting the YouTube channel. I'm keeping like my edited fancy videos on this channel, and I'm going to be porting over some, not all, because it's a pain in the ass, but some of my live streams over to DTP. That is my other YouTube channel, which should be launching August 1st. God willing, and the river don't rise. I have actually started working on that. It exists in pieces, but they're real pieces.
It's a jumbled mess of a puzzle. We're putting it together.
Yes, we are putting it together. It takes time, things to get moving, which explains a lot, because actually, this is the full moon. The new moon's in 2 weeks, and I'm hoping to have this all like rolling by then.
And as like that little pendulum reading said, those blockages are going to get released, start manifesting that, like, now that energy is moving up towards that new moon, get that energy going.
Oh Lord.
Like, get ready.
The blockages. Releasing and removing blockages.
Yes. We are removing the blockages. Say it again. We are removing the blockages, right? Like, that's what's happening.
Can we start bringing in some good stuff? Bring in the good stuff. Yeah. I would also like to thank you guys. I'm up to 300 subscribers on my main channel. So, yeah, there's dance. Do a little dance.
Awesome. That's fantastic. I'm just shy of 100. I need like just under 100 more to get to my next goal of followers on my page.
Yeah, you can start doing stuff with YouTube once you've got 100. That's another conversation. Okay, we're over an hour. I want to thank you all for coming.
Yes.
You can reach her at pendulumspath.com on all her places. You can Google me.
Yes.
I'm also on Facebook and a bunch of other places, so come check me out. Do you have any taglines you like to end with?
Other than I hope that it makes sense for you. That's what I usually end things with whenever I end a reading. I'm like, I hope that makes sense for you. And usually they come back and they're like, yeah, it did.
A lot of times when I'm doing a reading like online, I just end up with like, good luck, sweetheart. Good luck, sweetheart. Don't forget to give me a 5-star review.
Yes.
Like, you can leave each of us a 5-star review on Google.
Right.
You wouldn't think that crap makes a difference, but it does.
It really does. Reviews and word of mouth. It's what our business lives and dies by. Isn't it?
Yeah, basically. Okay. So, thank you for coming and hanging out.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. To everybody else, safe travel and much profit to you. Roll the out.